Hello, my name is Douglas Weed, I host the Gamer's Closet, and today we're doing a live stream. So today we're talking about dust among many other things. This is my friend Stephen Russell,
Hello.
and so let's start this. So first off, I have a couple of things I want to bring up. There are a couple of gaming conventions that are coming up in the general Northern California area that I feel that most people should be aware of. So we have Conquest Fresno, which is July 16th through 17th, and that is going to be a one-day event in a hall in Fresno. Conquest does have some other venues they do in the Sacramento area and a few other areas, which I should be bringing the Sacramento one, which they are reopening to the public later this year. Well, there's also the Miniature Wargaming Society of Sacramento's monthly meeting, which is June 26th at the Game Castle in Sacramento. I will have the address and links to the information in the comments below once the video is posted. So keep a lookout for that. So, games we're playing this week. So, a couple things I wanted to bring that I feel need some love and attention that plan on playing this week is Whitman's Sherlock Holmes, the deduction and suspense game from 1980, where you get to play as Sherlock Holmes trying to solve who stole a diamond crime. And in this game, you have to basically pass cards, and it's kind of like a combination of Old Maid and Clue at the same time. Uh, and another game that I will be opening probably later today is Gravwell Second Edition. Gravwell is a interesting game where you have to navigate from a space portal, as it were, and go to the other portal, so that way you can get out of a black hole. But you don't have engines. You have to use tractor beams and repulsor beams and push off of or attract yourself to other opponent ships or space garbage or push off of it. So it can get a little frustrating. So those are the two games that I'm playing this week. And so let's get into our main talking points.
Dust.
So, Dust.
1947.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Dust, dude.
Okay, well, it's a lot of fun. For starters, it's an alternate history of World War II. The Axis powers early on in the war managed to recover a crashed alien spaceship in Antarctica. And using the technology for that, they start making war walkers and things like that, laser and Tesla weapons and stuff, and plasma weapons, things like that. And that's all good times. The Nazis were overthrown when Hitler was assassinated early in the war, before much of the horrible, horrible stuff started. But
Okay.
they're still at war because now they're fighting over this new alien technology. Everybody wants it. In the beginning of the war, just the Axis powers have it, and eventually, as you know, their units get lost in battle and stuff, other factions start to loot and recover some of their own, what they call the VK, which is the special ore the aliens brought with them, and that allows them to power these devices, which is pretty potent stuff, apparently. It became a key part of the war at that point. I think the Soviets recovered some before the Allies were kind of the last ones into the game, at least as far as the VK. But they're able to hold their own because the VK walkers and stuff is as maneuverable as they are. They're better off in cityscapes and things like that, fighting in the cities because they can climb over the rubble and stuff, whereas the tanks get stuck. But out on the open field, tanks are still good and they're still viable weapons and stuff. But the Axis powers are also experimenting in other ways with this stuff, with their vril cores and whatnot. Able to, they're bringing in zombies and cybernetic gorillas and things like that to make a mess of things.
Oh, of course.
But it's all good times. Out of the actual game, like in real life, this game had a really, really rough start coming out. It was released several times and died several times before it actually hit the board.
It started off as a Kickstarter, right?
Before that, actually, it was a board game, very similar to Risk. Before the creators, I believe they're just called Dust. The main owner being Paolo Parente or something. I don't know about the pronunciation of that. Forgiveness if he's watching. I doubt it, but you never know.
Right.
Anyway, they sold the concept to Fantasy Flight in 2012, and they started producing well, what will eventually become the game we're playing today. Fantasy Flight did not do the greatest job with it. I love Fantasy Flight; they do make some awesome stuff.
They do.
But this is not one they invested enough in. I think personally, it was poorly balanced. The units were all over the place, and it was kind of a mess. And it kind of died out pretty early. But then a Kickstarter popped up in 2014. They fixed a lot of the issues, but then they had some kind of billing disputes between the manufacturers and the company that was doing the Kickstarter to distribute it, between Fantasy Flight and the other company. I don't remember their name, forgive me, but they were fighting over payments of services rendered and things like that. So there was a big legal dispute. I'm not sure who actually came out on top of that, but the game suffered heavily from that. They had fixed some of the balance problems, but there were still problems involved nonetheless. 2016, the original company got their rights back, and they released a great version of the game, which is what we're going to be playing today. Later today. It did pretty well for the most part, and unfortunately, a little surprise in 2021, due to COVID and the increased shipping costs and raw material costs, they've now shut down again. So you can still buy the game, you can still find it in shops and things like that, but they're not making any more. So if you want to get into it, you better do it now, because it's only going to get more expensive from here on out. But yeah, that's good times.
So, in your opinion, do you think all the pieces are worth the cost that's currently on them, or?
Well, I really enjoy the game. I love it. I play it as much as I can. If I can find somebody to throw down with, back whenever the first edition of it kind of went down, whenever the badly made rules and stuff went down, that's when I got most of I bought 3 of the factions that were out at the time, which were the only factions at the time. There's more now, which is the SSU, the Axis, and the Allies. I bought enough to have field armies of each, good-sized armies of each, and it was barely playable actually at that point.
Okay.
Of course, I didn't know that at the time. I just saw, hey, these guys are really cool looking. Maybe I can use them for some other game, if nothing else. So I buy them out, and they were like 90% off from the store I got them from online. So I got this giant box in the mail going through this thing. And I'm like, okay, at least I'll try it. And even with the bad rules at the time and the poorly balanced units, I mean, there were some factions like the Axis were really broken back then because the point costs of the other units were just too high for what they could do. But when they re-released it, again, that was good news for all of us. We got better rules. I picked up a new rule book at the time. That was with the 2014 stuff. And again in 2016, I was able to pick up a couple more. Not as much as I did originally, because these ones are now at full price. The 2014 stuff was better cost than the 2016 stuff, obviously, because it just keeps going up. So I was buying less and less, but I was able to fill in and round out my units better, my factions, and have enough to have a good 3-person game at least, unless you divide somebody into 2 teams at the time, because I don't have any of the newer stuff that they've released in the past 2 years or so. But last I heard, they were able to round out their last couple of factions before they closed things down, using up the last of their materials to finish off the new units, which are including the IJN, which is the Imperial Japanese Navy, which has some pretty cool like samurai style walkers and stuff on top of the more techno punk type of things, and or diesel punk, I guess is what it would be. As well as the Cthulhu mythos, which they've spilled into there, because the core game was also apparently, even back in the day, was compatible with a earlier version of another game. I forget what that one is called. It was a Cthulhu-based game, but so now there's magic and summoners and monsters and stuff. I don't have any of that stuff, but it's really awesome. I think of probably someday just proxy, because I've got tons of miniatures of mythos type monsters that I could always throw out there, and just got to get the data cards, which you can usually find online anyway. So
Okay.
it's good times.
So, in your opinion, how does this game compare to like an established game like 40K or something like that? Do you think it holds its own?
Oh, it definitely can hold its own, especially since, unless somebody brings it back again for yet another re-release in the future. for now, what you buy, you don't have to worry about it being updated every 3 months like a lot of those other games. I know,
Okay.
for example, like 40K, I'm being really frustrated lately because in the new ninth edition of 40K, I bought a rule book when they first came out, which became obsolete, and I had to buy another rule book. And now they want me to buy a third rule book or a codex for whatever armies I've got. And then it's three into the same edition, and it's starting to get expensive considering they run between $40 and $60 a piece just
Okay.
for the rule books and things like that. But you don't have to worry about those kind of updates unless, of course, like I said, hindsight's 50-50, but
They just release it again.
if they
now.
release it again, if somebody else gets a hold of it and they decide they want to come back, or the same people decide that their shipping problems are over and they want to reinvest into their own stuff, maybe it'll come back. Who knows?
Okay. So, so basically, the cost on this. Do you think it's a little easier to get into something like Dust versus like 40K, or?
Oh yeah, because it's usually smaller scale. I mean, you could do larger scale stuff. I guess you could do it with 40K too, but with the current prices where they are, it's about on par. The bright side being most of you have a few options. You can buy them buildable, but the ones I've found so far are usually pre-assembled and pre-based and ready for painting themselves. Or if you want to pitch in a few extra dollars, you can buy the ones that are pre-painted completely as well. And from what I've seen, they actually do a pretty good job of painting them up for you, which is why they cost a bit more.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. You have any other points of Dust you think we should share? Or?
no, not really too much. We did a practice game earlier today just to give old Dougie here a little show of what he's in for, and he beat me up pretty good. It was good times.
Hey, that those heavy armored troops with the punches.
Oh yeah, you got jetpacks, heavy armor, and power fists basically, or your
Those-
rocket punches.
Those weren't too bad, and then I got really good draws on some of the bazooka and tank poles.
And don't forget your flamethrowers on my poor
Flame-
poor zombies.
Those flamethrowers are amazing.
Flamethrowers are good for zombies.
Flamethrowers and shotguns all day long. That's all you need. But yeah, that was a good time.
Yep. So apparently we're gonna take a little break and then
Yeah.
get back, set up the game, and we'll show you then.
Yeah. So another product that I did want to bring up during the live stream, which they contacted me and wanted me to check out their products, is called Uberstaxs. Uberstaxs is a company that makes card holders or chip holders or things of that nature. So you can actually put them together. You can actually put your own cards on there. They're completely adjustable. You can make them 2-3 tiers high. They come in multiple colors, which actually is a pretty interesting product. And then they have a add-on product, which are called Uber trays, which Uber trays allow you to put chip trays where you can actually hook them directly up to your Uberstaxs, and they work out really well. So you can hook them up just however you need. They clip on exactly to the Uberstaxs. And they come with trays, they come with lids, so they can keep track of all your little chips and cards and everything. I think they're an interesting product. Like I said, they sent me a couple of copies just to try them out, which they work really well, especially if you have a lot of cards, things of that nature in a game like that, or especially with a lot of chips, like some of those fantasy flight games. The trays are great for that kind of stuff. I think they'd work a little, decently with Dust. Kind of like that, to keep track of all your counters and things like that. So, if you haven't checked out Uberstaxs before, I would recommend giving them a try. Like I said, Uber trays. So they're a company based out of Edmonton, Canada. So I would go check out Uberstaxs. That's UBERSTAX.com and give them a look because, like I said, they're a pretty interesting product and they easily fit and snap together. So I would give them a try. So that is my accessory item for this week. I plan on doing more live streams, probably one a week, each week. either myself or with a guest. I don't know if Steven's interested in doing more of these, but yeah, I think we could do a lot with them. I know the audience has been talking about live streaming for a long time. I've been talking about live playthroughs for a long time.
We're going to try that today.
Yeah, we're going to try that today. COVID for the long time shut everything down, and only recently we started getting back together and doing plays of anything.
Yep.
So I think that we could do a lot with that. Um, so a couple other housekeeping things I did want to mention. I am moving the Gamer's Closet normal videos into a smaller compact studio, which should hopefully be up and running sometime this next week. So it should sit on schedule for a release for the next episode of the Gamer's Closet on 4th of July weekend, which will be the American Heritage game of Skirmish, which is a great two-player game for the American Revolution. Which if you haven't tried it, I'd recommend taking a look at it, and I'll go over it more in detail then. But like I said, the game will come out on 4th of July weekend in time for Independence Day, and I will, like I said, be doing a live stream each week. So, new topic I want to bring up, like I showed some of the games that I've been playing this week. Anything you playing this week you think that deserves a look from somebody, or...
Oh my, on the spot. Anything new this week?
Or anything that you feel that someone should take a look at? Because I'm always a fan of retro games, so I don't know about
games.
Retro, or even Gravwell came out from Gen Con this last year. But
downside is I don't have a lot of free time this week, besides today. Hoping to, we were talking about 40K, I'm hoping to play some more of that
okay.
on Monday, but otherwise, no, gotta work. Gotta pay them bills.
Yeah, I know how that is. I know that I have a few other newer games in the works that have been picked up recently, which includes Parker Brothers Billionaire, and also have picked up a copy of Go for Broke. So I think those would be a good option. Looks like we have a question, and I didn't set this up quite right. So let's take a look at said question. Let's see. My recent purchases were Euphoria, Successors, and Tiny Epic Dungeons. Tiny Epic Dungeons is a pretty decent game. I mean, it's... Yeah, I mean, I've had fun with it. I haven't had time to sit down and play it a lot. The other two I haven't really had time to play, which I do know people that have them, but I haven't played them personally myself. But I do like Tiny Epic Dungeons. I think it's a pretty decent game. But I'm always a fan of a lot of the Tiny Epic games because they're just designed interestingly. I always have a good time with them. So, but if anyone does have any questions or anything like that, I'm more than happy to answer anything you might have. Since we're trying to at least get about a half an hour stream in here this week, and I'm hoping to do longer next week. But again, we're also going to be doing a live playthrough of Dust in a little while as soon as I relocate the equipment. But that is something that I'm looking forward to.
That'll certainly take a while longer.
Yeah, I just got to set it up and kind of readjust it, but I think it'll come out really nice. Let's see. Anything else coming up this week? Yeah, not too many conventions or anything like that going on, at least until middle of the summer or September. Always a fan of DunderCon, which comes around every February, and I know Conquest is coming back to Sacramento sometime in late September, October, somewhere like that. Another topic I wanted to bring up is if you happen to be in Northern California, I do recommend dropping by my favorite game store. My favorite game store is located in Tracy, California, and is Black Rowan Games. Black Rowan Games is a family-owned game. They're not in any way adding to this channel in monetary value or asking me to do any of this. This is me bringing it up on my own, and I would recommend giving them a try. Like I said, they're a family-owned game store. They're not like a big name brand chain like Barnes and Noble or anything like that. You get your games, so money goes back into the community, which I think is a great thing. And like I said, they are local for the Northern California area. They do conventions where they do set up out there for sales, things like that. So if you are in the Sacramento, Stockton area, Northern California, I would recommend you dropping by Tracy, California, and going and visiting Black Rowan Games, because, like I said, I always have a interesting time when I go in there. I always find new things, and there's stuff in there that I walk in I've never even heard of before, which I've had a good time picking up. Grabwell was a good example of that when they hosted a small pocket version of Gen Con for anyone that couldn't go. They released a batch of the Gen Con released games to them, which you signed up for them, and I was able to play some interesting brand new games, like I said, including Grabwell, Dungeon Decorators, a few other games, which I thought were phenomenal. So, like I said, if you haven't dropped by Black Rowan, I would recommend giving them a try. Let's see. Another interesting game I feel that I want to bring up is a game that no one ever remembers, which is called Black Market Warehouse. Black Market Warehouse is a game that you have to go through a small warehouse where you can trade anything from a crate full of AK-47s to endangered pandas to artifacts off the Titanic. I mean, you can do anything with this. You can deal with mob warehouses, the Illuminati. So Black Market Warehouse is a really weird game from the Fire Squadron, which is a game company I have never heard of. I found this game completely on accident at a thrift store, and it's weird, but it's fun. So if you haven't played Black Market Warehouse before, I'd recommend giving this game a look, because this game is, like I said, it's weird, but it's fun weird. Looks like we've got another question. Again, I don't have my clicker, so let's see what we got going on here today. Let's see. I'm attending Dice Tower Con in Orlando, Florida at Caliber Royal Resort in July. Yeah, Dice Tower Con is always going every year. I do know that they have Dice Tower West, which is in Las Vegas every year, which one of these days I hope to attend that. But yeah, the Dice Tower, they always have 3 or 4 different conventions going. I know there's the one in Florida, there's Dice Tower West, they have a cruise, they have a few smaller conventions, but I think that's something that I will eventually hopefully be able to attend at some point, but currently right now it's not in the cards, as it were. But yeah, thank you for mentioning it. Let's see. Do you have any questions for me or anything you want to bring up?
Oh no, I know more than I want to know about you already.
Oh, thanks. Okay. All right. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't really have much else going on today. Can you do that? So there is one other thing I do want to bring up, which is a game that I use as kind of like my shopping list, which is the Board Games book by Desi Soproni. There are multiples of these books in different editions, which are interesting books. They have multiple board games in them, covers, so you can actually see some of the really bizarre games that have been produced over the years. Like I said, they've got full color plates in them. They do have some a little bit of pricing, but a lot of times they're out of date. But it's kind of, I use it as kind of a shopping list for a lot of the older board games. They list everything in here. Board games from the 50s and 60s that you don't remember. Board games for TV shows that I don't know why they made a General Hospital board game. If you want to play the soap opera, like, okay. There's board games for every TV show, including The Outer Limits, The Twilight Zone, Lassie, you name it, it has a board game. Some of the other weird games that are in here, they have a lot of the TV game show board games like Password or Pick That Number or name, whatever it is. And then there's some of the other staple board games, like the multiple versions of Monopoly, Yahtzee, and the offshoots that all of those games have had, from Yahtzee, Word Yahtzee, Showdown Yahtzee. There's multiple versions of a lot of those games. Looks like we've got another question popping up. Let's see what we got going on here. You had a chance to play Fireball Island remake since your review of the original 2 years ago. I have played the remake. It's a little more heavier than I think the original one was. The original one got really cutthroat after about halfway through the game. I mean, you're fighting your way against the game through all the marbles and all the fireballs and the dice rolls. But then once you get the gem, then it is a race of cutthroatness. The remake has issues where you can go and take selfie photos. It has other mechanics they added to it, which I think detract from the original. Don't get me wrong; it looks interesting, but I think it loses some of the aggressive cutthroatness that the original one has. Don't get me wrong; I think it's a decent game. If you can't find the old Fireball Island, because I mean the game is ultra expensive, especially because the board is one of those pressed plastic ridged boards. The new one's a decent option, so if you haven't played it, I would say pick it up. But I prefer the original retro one from '86 over the newer one.
Can you use the old rules with the new setup?
I'm pretty sure you can. I mean,
I haven't seen the new one. So
yeah, I mean, it has a lot of the same features to it. I mean, you have the the idol of Volcar and the fireballs. The board has kind of that ridge, 3D element to it. They added palm trees to it, which I think kind of make it an interesting, weird aesthetic to it. But they do kind of get in the way a little bit, especially if you're trying to move around. But I'm pretty sure you could get a copy of the original rules and just kind of re-add it into the new copy. Yeah, the new version is taller because they kind of have two platforms, and then they build the rest of the game on top of the two platforms. So they give it a more of it has a bigger element to it. But the original one is a solid piece. It's a one-piece plastic board. It was like machine press, so it has ridges and valleys, and the trays are a little bit better for marbles to kind of soar through the game. Because I mean, those things pick up speed real fast through that game. So, but like I said, I like the original one better than the newer version. But that being said, the newer version is decent if you can't find the old one. Which, like I said, the old one is, I think it's online or anywhere from like $200 to $300 right now, if you can find a decent copy of it. And most time they're missing pieces.
Find one in the yard sale.
Yeah, yard sale, your grandmother's attic, an estate sale. You might get you might get lucky, but like I said, those pieces are, yeah. I mean, you can. There's online, especially for the bridges, you can get them 3D printed and remade, but they look weird compared to the originals. They don't have all the texturing that the original ones did, but they work. So, like I said, if you can't find the pieces to them, 3D printing is always an option, especially for all the bridges and all the chips. But yeah, I'm a fan of the original. I'm sorry. You've played Fireball Island before.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
It is very cutthroat. I can agree with that, yeah. I mean, I like that it's simple, it's easy, it's quick to go, but, I generally like games that are more complicated myself.
Yeah, it's an 80s Milton Bradley game.
Right. I'm not being too picky. I mean, it's a good time. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a good time with it. It's one of those games that I pull out for people that haven't gamed before, and they look at it like, oh my god, what is that? It's with all the 3D, hills and rises and everything
Well,
on
just
it.
one of those ones, if you've played the original, that gives you some bragging rights, too.
Yeah.
If you own it, even more.
Yeah, I mean, that game is, the box is huge.
It has to be. That's to hold that mountain.
Yeah, it survived my childhood by being put in the back of my closet as a kid. So when I moved out of my parents' house, I found it. but I mean it's so massive. It's just there's not really a place to put it. The newer box is a lot more condensed because it tears down, so you don't have to deal with all the goofy shelf sizing issues. But like I said, I like the old one. So, but looks like we've hit the half-hour mark. So we're going to take we're going to stop. Well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back for more live streaming with a setup of live playthrough of Dust out in your garage, which I think will be a good time. Who are you playing this time? Because you played the Axis last time. Are you playing them again, or?
Well, if you're going to switch it up, I might as well too. I'll give you a taste of your own medicine, and I'll do the Allied unit this time. And
You're playing the Allies?
Because you said you wanted to do the SSU, the Sino-Soviet Union.
Yeah, I think I'll give
So,
I'll give the Ruskies a try and see what they do. But yeah, I think it'll be a good time, and so we're gonna break and come back for a live playthrough of Dust. Hopefully it comes out okay. We'll see. Like I said, this is the first video of live playthrough, so we'll find out. So, but stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly.